The shrill whistle of the subway car's brakes pierced the evening air as Finn Hartley clutched his 7-year-old daughter, Mia's hand tighter, navigating through the crowded platform with practiced precision. After working a double shift at the auto repair shop and picking up Mia from the after-school program, his shoulders ached from a day of leaning under hoods, and his wallet felt uncomfortably light after paying this month's rent. "Daddy, I'm hungry," Mia said, tugging on his calloused hand. Her backpack, adorned with colorful butterfly patches that Finn had sewn on himself to cover the worn spots, bounced against her small frame. "We'll be home soon, sweetheart," Finn replied, offering a tired smile. "I'll make your favorite mac and cheese, the one with the little broccoli trees." With the extra cheese on top, her eyes lit up, momentarily forgetting her hunger. "Extra cheese, princess, promise." As they waited for their connecting train, Finn noticed a commotion several yards away. A tall man in an expensive suit was standing uncomfortably close to a woman who was clearly trying to create distance between them. Even from where he stood, Finn could see the woman's tense posture and the way she clutched her designer handbag close to her body. "Come on, just give me your number," the man insisted, his voice carrying across the platform. "A pretty thing like you shouldn't be riding the subway anyway. I've got a car waiting upstairs." "I've already said no, thank you," the woman replied firmly, her voice steady despite her obvious discomfort. Finn hesitated. Getting involved wasn't always the wisest choice, especially with Mia by his side, but something about the woman's increasingly distressed expression tugged at him. "Mia, stay right here where I can see you, okay?" Finn said, positioning his daughter against the wall near a transit officer. "I'll be right back." "Okay, Daddy," Mia nodded, clutching her backpack straps. Finn approached the pair, keeping his body language open and non-threatening. The woman was stunning, with copper-toned skin and dark hair pulled back in an elegant knot. Her clothes were simple but obviously expensive, a cashmere sweater and tailored trousers that probably cost more than his monthly salary. "Excuse me," Finn said, directing his words to the woman. "Is this guy bothering you?" The suited man turned with an annoyed expression. "Mind your own business, buddy. We're having a private conversation." The woman's eyes met Finn's, relief washing over her face. Actually, he won't take no for an answer. "Well, she said no," Finn stated simply, positioning himself slightly between them. "So I think you should move along now." The suited man scoffed, looking Finn up and down, taking in his worn work clothes and grease-stained hands. "What are you going to do about it, grease monkey?" "Call security with your free hand." He nodded toward Mia, who was watching with wide eyes. Finn felt heat rise in his chest, but kept his voice level. "I'm asking you politely to leave the lady alone. There's a transit officer right over there, and I'm sure neither of us wants to make this a bigger deal than it needs to be." The woman straightened her posture. "I have pepper spray in my bag and I will use it," she added, her voice now steel-edged. The suited man looked between them, weighing his options before finally backing away. "Whatever, not worth my time anyway," he muttered, stalking off toward the exit. Finn turned to the woman. "Are you okay?" she nodded, releasing a deep breath. "Yes, thank you, that was getting uncomfortable." "I'm Lydia, by the way, Lydia Edwards." "Finn Hartley," he replied with a nod. "And that's my daughter Mia, we should probably get back to her." Lydia glanced over at the little girl who was watching them curiously. "Of course, she's beautiful." Finn smiled, the kind of smile that transformed his tired face. "She's my whole world." They walked back to where Mia waited patiently. The little girl immediately looked up at Lydia with open curiosity. "You're pretty," Mia declared. "Your earrings look like stars." Lydia touched the simple diamond studs in her ears, a genuine smile crossing her face. "Thank you, I like your butterfly backpack. Daddy fixed it for me. He can fix anything," Mia said proudly. The train rumbled into the station and people began pushing forward. "That's our train," Finn said, taking Mia's hand again. "Mine too, actually," Lydia said, surprising herself with the admission. Her driver was undoubtedly waiting at her usual stop, but something made her want to stay in these strangers' company a little longer. They boarded together, finding seats in the relatively empty car. Mia sat between them, chattering about her day at school and a science project involving growing beans in different conditions. Finn listened attentively, asking questions that showed he had been keeping track of the experiment's progress. Lydia watched their interaction with interest. There was something about this man that intrigued her, not just his willingness to step in when she needed help, but the gentle way he spoke to his daughter, the evident love between them, the quiet dignity despite his obviously modest circumstances. "What line of work are you in?" Finn asked Lydia during a lull in Mia's chatter. "Investment management," she answered, the simplified version she often gave strangers. No need to mention she was the founder and CEO of Edwards Capital, one of the largest private equity firms in the country. "And you, auto mechanic." "I specialize in vintage cars at Grayson's garage downtown," he said without a hint of apology in his voice. "It's good, steady work," Mia piped up. "Daddy's the best mechanic in the whole city. People bring their cars from other states for him to fix." Lydia smiled at the little girl's pride. "Is that so? That's quite impressive." Finn shrugged, a slight flush on his cheeks. "I just have a knack for diagnosing engine problems. Mia likes to exaggerate." "I do not," Mia protested. Their stop came too quickly. As they prepared to disembark, Lydia made a split-second decision. "I'd like to thank you properly for your help today," she said. "Maybe I could buy you both dinner sometime." Finn's expression turned cautious. "That's not necessary. Anyone would have done the same." "But they didn't." "You did," Lydia said simply. "Just dinner as a thank you." "No strings attached." Finn hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Okay, but somewhere casual, nothing fancy." "Deal," Lydia said, feeling an unexpected flutter of anticipation as they exchanged phone numbers. As they parted ways on the platform, Lydia watched the father and daughter walk hand in hand toward the exit, Mia skipping every few steps. For the first time in months, Lydia felt something other than the relentless pressure of running a multi-billion-dollar company, something that felt surprisingly like hope. The following evening, Finn stared at his phone, debating whether to call the number Lydia had given him. Mia was already in bed, exhausted from a day filled with school and playground adventures. His apartment was quiet except for the gentle hum of the refrigerator, a sound that reminded him it was still half empty despite his payday being only 2 days away. "This is ridiculous," he muttered to himself. Women like Lydia Edwards didn't really want to have dinner with auto mechanics and their kids. She had probably given him her number out of politeness, or worse, pity. Still, something about her seemed genuine, the way she had listened to Mia with real interest, how she hadn't flinched at his grease-stained hands, the lack of condescension in her voice when he told her what he did for a living. Taking a deep breath, Finn dialed her number before he could talk himself out of it. "Hello," her voice answered after 2 rings, sounding surprised. "Hi, it's Finn Hartley. From the subway yesterday, of course, Finn. I'm glad you called." The warmth in her voice seemed authentic. "About that dinner offer, Mia hasn't stopped talking about the pretty lady with star earrings all day. I was wondering if you were serious." Lydia laughed, a sound that made Finn smile despite himself. "Absolutely serious. How about this Saturday?" "There's a great little Italian place in your neighborhood, Mario's. Would 6 p.m. work? Early enough for Mia, but not a rushed dinner." Finn was taken aback. "You know Mario's?" The family-owned restaurant was a local gem, nothing fancy but with food that put chain restaurants to shame. "I have clients all over the city," Lydia said smoothly. "You discover the best places that way." "Saturday at 6 works for us," Finn confirmed, trying to ignore the flutter of nervousness in his stomach. "Perfect. I'll make a reservation and text you the details." And Finn, "I'm really looking forward to it." After they hung up, Finn sat with the phone in his hand for a long moment. What was he doing? Dating hadn't been on his radar since his wife Sarah died 4 years ago. Between raising Mia and keeping their heads above water financially, he hadn't had the time or energy to even consider it. And yet, here he was, agreeing to dinner with a woman who clearly came from a different world than his. A woman who wore cashmere like it was cotton and diamond earrings like they were costume jewelry. A woman whose phone number was now saved in his contacts list, making his heart race just a little faster. Saturday arrived with unexpected nerves for Lydia as she sat in the back of her Mercedes, directing her driver to the address of the restaurant. She had specifically chosen her outfit to be nice but not overstated dark jeans, a silk blouse, and a light blazer. Her usual driver, Thomas, had raised an eyebrow when she gave him the address but knew better than to comment. "I'll text you when I'm ready to be picked up," Lydia told him as they pulled up to Mario's. "Of course, Miss Edwards," Thomas replied with practiced neutrality. Inside, the restaurant was warm and inviting, with checkered tablecloths and the delicious aroma of garlic and tomato sauce in the air. Finn and Mia were already seated at a corner table, Mia coloring on a paper menu while Finn nervously adjusted his silverware. He stood when he saw Lydia approach, and she was struck by how different he looked outside of his work clothes. He wore a simple button-up shirt that brought out the blue in his eyes, and his light brown hair was neatly combed. He had clearly made an effort, and the thought touched her. "Hi," Mia exclaimed before either adult could speak. "Daddy said I could get spaghetti if I promised not to get sauce everywhere." Lydia laughed, settling into her chair. "That sounds like a very good deal." Finn's smile was apologetic. "She's been excited about this all day." "So have I," Lydia admitted, surprising herself with her honesty. Dinner proceeded with surprising ease. Mia regaled them with stories from school, while Finn occasionally interjected with gentle corrections or clarifications. Lydia found herself genuinely laughing more than she had in months. "So you fix vintage cars," Lydia said during a moment when Mia was focused on twirling the perfect bite of spaghetti on her fork. "How did you get into that?" "My dad was a mechanic," Finn explained, his eyes warm with remembrance. "He specialized in classic American muscle cars from the 60s and 70s. I grew up watching him work, handing him tools before I could even name them all. After high school, I went to technical college and got certified, then worked my way up from regular auto repair to specializing in classics myself." "He's being modest," a voice interrupted. Mario himself had approached their table with a bottle of wine. "This man has magic hands. Fixed my '67 Camaro when 3 other shops said it was hopeless." Finn's face reddened slightly. "Just did what needed to be done, Mario." "The wine is on the house tonight," Mario insisted, pouring 2 glasses, "for my friend and his beautiful dinner companions." After Mario left, Lydia raised an eyebrow. "Magic hands, just patience and attention to detail," Finn said, taking a sip of wine. "Old cars tell you what's wrong if you listen closely enough." "I wish my investments were that straightforward," Lydia mused. "So investment management," Finn prompted. "That sounds boring," Lydia supplied with a smile. "I was going to say complicated." Lydia considered how much to share. "It can be. Essentially, I help people and organizations grow their money by making strategic investment decisions." "Like stocks and stuff?" Mia asked, surprising both adults with her attention to their conversation. "Yes, exactly like stocks," Lydia confirmed, impressed. "And bonds, real estate, sometimes businesses themselves." "Daddy says we can't afford stocks," Mia stated matter-of-factly, causing Finn to choke slightly on his wine. "Mia," he admonished gently. "Well, you did," she protested, "when I asked why we couldn't buy Disney since we watch all their movies." Lydia bit back a smile at Finn's obvious embarrassment. "That's actually very smart thinking, Mia. Investing in companies you believe in can be a good strategy." The conversation flowed naturally through dessert, a shared tiramisu for the adults, and gelato for Mia, and Lydia found herself reluctant for the evening to end. There was something refreshing about Finn's straightforward nature, his obvious devotion to his daughter, and the complete absence of the power dynamics she typically navigated in her professional and social circles. When the check came, Finn reached for it, but Lydia was faster. "This was my invitation, remember," she said firmly. "At least let me leave the tip," Finn insisted, looking uncomfortable. Lydia recognized his pride and nodded, allowing him this small concession. As they walked outside into the cool evening air, Mia yawned widely. "Somebody's ready for bed," Finn observed, lifting his daughter into his arms with practiced ease. Her head immediately settled onto his shoulder. "Let me give you a ride home," Lydia offered, already reaching for her phone to text Thomas. We're fine taking the subway. It's only a few stops, Finn demurred. Please, Lydia pressed. It's getting late and Mia's already half asleep. Finn hesitated, then nodded. Okay, thank you. When Thomas pulled up in the sleek black Mercedes, Finn's eyebrows rose slightly, but he said nothing. They settled into the back seat, Mia now fully asleep against her father's chest. Your address? Thomas asked, eyeing Finn in the rearview mirror. After Finn provided it, a comfortable silence fell over the car. Lydia watched him gently stroke Mia's hair, the tenderness in his expression making her heart constrict in an unfamiliar way. Thank you for tonight, he said quietly. It's been a long time since we've had an evening out like this. I enjoyed it too, Lydia replied honestly. More than I expected to. When they arrived at Finn's apartment building, Lydia could see him assessing how to exit gracefully with a sleeping child. Let me help you, she offered, getting out to hold the door while he maneuvered Mia out of the car. Would you like to come up for coffee? Finn asked hesitantly. Only if you want to, no pressure. Lydia glanced at Thomas, who was waiting impassively. I'd like that, she decided, telling Thomas she would call when she needed him. Finn's apartment was small but meticulously organized. While he put Mia to bed, Lydia took in the details framed crayon artwork on the walls, a bookshelf with an eclectic mix of children's books and car repair manuals, a few carefully preserved photographs of a woman with Mia's smile who must have been his late wife. When Finn returned, he moved efficiently around the small kitchen preparing coffee. It's nothing fancy, he apologized. Just regular drip coffee. Perfect, Lydia assured him, settling onto one of the bar stools at the counter that separated the kitchen from the living area. As they sipped their coffee, Finn finally asked the question she could tell had been on his mind all evening. Why did you really want to have dinner with us, Lydia? She considered her answer carefully. When you stepped in to help me on the subway, you didn't want anything in return. You just did the right thing. Do you know how rare that is in my world? Your world seems pretty different from mine, Finn observed, no judgment in his voice. It is, she acknowledged, and exhausting sometimes. Tonight was refreshing, real. Finn studied her over the rim of his coffee mug. You're not just in investment management, are you? Lydia felt a flicker of anxiety. This was usually the turning point when people discovered who she really was. Everything changed. What makes you say that? The car, for one thing, the way you handle yourself. The fact that you knew Mario's name, even though I'm pretty sure I've never seen you there before. Lydia set down her mug. I'm the founder and CEO of Edwards Capital. It's a private equity firm that manages about $12 billion in assets. Finn's eyes widened slightly, but to his credit, his expression remained calm. So when Mia was talking about buying Disney stocks, I could probably arrange a meeting with their board of directors if needed. Lydia finished with a small smile. Finn let out a low whistle. Wow. Does it bother you? She asked, unable to keep the vulnerability from her voice. Finn considered this. It's intimidating, he admitted. But no, it doesn't bother me. You're still the same person who sat and listened to my 7-year-old talk about bean plants for 15 minutes straight. Relief washed through Lydia. She reached across the counter and placed her hand over his. I'd like to see you again, Finn, both of you. I'd like that too, he replied, turning his hand to intertwine his fingers with hers. But I need you to understand something. I'm never going to be rich. I love my work, but auto mechanics don't become millionaires. I can't take you to fancy restaurants or buy you expensive gifts. I don't need any of that, Lydia said earnestly. I can buy those things myself. What I can't buy is honesty, integrity, or the way you make me feel when I'm with you. Their second date was at the Natural History Museum with Mia, who was thrilled by the dinosaur exhibits. Their third was dinner at Lydia's penthouse apartment after Mia had a sleepover at a friend's house. By their fourth date, a picnic in the park with homemade sandwiches that Finn had prepared, Lydia knew she was falling for this earnest, hard-working man who saw her for who she was, not what she owned. For Finn, the adjustment to dating someone of Lydia's stature was not without its challenges. The first time she casually mentioned her private jet, he had gone quiet for several minutes. When she suggested taking Mia to Disney World for a weekend, because I need to check on some property investments in Orlando anyway. He had gently but firmly established that he needed to pay his own way, and Mia's even if it meant saving for several months to afford it. "I'm not trying to be difficult," he explained one evening as they sat on his small balcony watching the city lights. "But I need to know that I'm contributing to this relationship, not just receiving." Lydia understood, even as she found ways to compromise, like when she won 3 tickets to a sold-out Broadway show through a client raffle, or when she claimed her favorite bakery was running a buy-one-get-two free special on the elaborate birthday cake she brought for Mia's 8th birthday. 6 months into their relationship, as summer turned to fall, they faced their first significant challenge. Lydia had been offered the chance to open a new office in London, an expansion that would require her presence there for at least 3 months. "I could fly back every weekend," she suggested as they discussed the situation over dinner at Finn's apartment. Mia was already asleep, having exhausted herself at soccer practice. "That's not sustainable, Lydia," Finn replied, concern evident in his expression. "The time difference alone would be exhausting for you." "Then come with me," she said impulsively. "Both of you. Mia could attend an international school for a semester. It would be an amazing experience for her." Finn shook his head slowly. "I can't just leave my job for 3 months. Mario's nephew is sick, and I'm covering his shifts already. The garage is short-staffed as it is." "I could talk to the owner, explain the situation. Maybe arrange—" "No," Finn interrupted firmly. "I appreciate what you're trying to do, but I need to handle my professional life on my own terms." They fell silent, the tension thick between them. "I don't want to be apart from you for 3 months, Lydia finally said, vulnerability evident in her voice. "I don't either," Finn admitted, "but we need to find a solution that respects both our worlds." The compromise they reached was difficult but workable. Lydia would spend 2 weeks in London, then 1 week in New York, rotating throughout the 3-month period. During her weeks in New York, she would work remotely as much as possible. For Thanksgiving, Finn and Mia would fly to London, Lydia's treat, as a holiday gift, which Finn accepted after some deliberation. Their reunion at Heathrow Airport was emotional, with Mia running into Lydia's arms and Finn following close behind, wrapping both of them in a tight embrace. "I missed you so much," he whispered against her hair. "Never again," Lydia promised. 3 months apart is my absolute limit." The London trip was transformative for all of them. Mia was enchanted by the Tower of London and the changing of the guard at Buckingham Palace. Finn, despite his initial reservations about the extravagance, was clearly moved when Lydia arranged a private tour of a classic car collection owned by one of her clients. On their last evening in London, after Mia had fallen asleep in the guest room of Lydia's rented townhouse, Finn took Lydia's hand as they sat before the fireplace. "I've been doing a lot of thinking during these past months," he began, his voice uncharacteristically nervous. "That sounds ominous," Lydia tried to joke, though her heart had begun to race. "Not at all," Finn assured her. "The opposite, actually." He took a deep breath. "I love you, Lydia. I think I have since that first dinner at Mario's, watching you with Mia, seeing how you really listened to her, how you made both of us feel seen." Lydia's eyes filled with tears. "I love you too, Finn, more than I ever thought possible. Our worlds are different," he continued. "That's never going to change. You'll always have resources and opportunities that I don't. But I promise you this, I will always support your dreams and ambitions. I will never be intimidated by your success. And I will love you for exactly who you are, not what you own." "That's all I've ever wanted," Lydia whispered, leaning forward to kiss him deeply. When they returned to New York, the transition back to their regular lives was easier than expected. Lydia had made arrangements for her return that allowed her more flexibility, including promoting her trusted CFO to co-manage the London office. Finn had used their time apart to develop a proposal for Grayson, the garage owner, a specialized classic car restoration department that would increase the shop's prestige and profitability. One snowy evening in December, as they walked hand in hand through the Christmas market in Bryant Park, Mia running ahead to admire the ornaments at a nearby stall, Lydia made her decision. "Move in with me," she said suddenly, stopping in the middle of the path. "Both of you." Finn looked surprised, Your penthouse is beautiful, Lydia, but it's not exactly kid-friendly. Then we'll find something new together, she pressed. Somewhere that feels like home to all of us, maybe a brownstone in Brooklyn with a yard for Mia to play in. Finn studied her face in the glow of the Christmas lights. Are you sure about this? It's a big step. I've never been more sure of anything, Lydia replied. These past 9 months with you and Mia have been the happiest of my life. When I'm with you, I'm not the CEO of Edwards Capital, I'm just Lydia, the woman who loves butterfly backpacks and Mario's spaghetti and watching you fix things with those magic hands. Finn's smile was luminous as he pulled her close. Well, when you put it that way. 3 months later, they moved into a renovated brownstone in Park Slope. Lydia had insisted on paying the bulk of the cost, but Finn had contributed what he could and had taken charge of the renovations, working weekends alongside the contractors to create the home they had envisioned together. Mia's room was painted yellow at her request, with a window seat overlooking the small backyard where Finn had built her a swing set. Lydia converted the top floor into a home office, allowing her to work remotely more often. The basement became Finn's workshop, where he could tinker with smaller automotive projects and teach Mia the basics of mechanics. As spring bloomed in their garden, Finn proposed on a Tuesday evening. No grand gesture needed, just the two of them sitting on the porch swing he had built, Mia already asleep upstairs. I don't have much to offer except myself, he said, holding out a simple ring with a single diamond. But everything I have is yours if you want it. Lydia's yes was immediate and tearful. The ring, she later learned, had belonged to his grandmother, the one thing of value his father had managed to keep through hard times. Their wedding was a compromise between worlds held at the Botanical Gardens with only 50 guests, a mix of Lydia's high-profile colleagues and Finn's friends from the garage and neighborhood. Mia served as flower girl, beaming with pride as she walked down the aisle ahead of Lydia. Mario catered the reception, serving elevated versions of his restaurant classics alongside champagne that cost more per bottle than Finn used to make in a day. No one seemed to notice or care about the contrast, least of all the bride and groom, who were too absorbed in each other to worry about such details. 1 year later, as they celebrated their anniversary with a family dinner in their backyard, Mia helped them hang a sign she had painted herself. Family is where love grows. Beneath the words was a drawing of the three of them, holding hands, with a small addition that made both adults freeze in surprise, a tiny figure held in Lydia's painted arms. Mia, Finn began carefully, is there something you want to tell us? The little girl shrugged with the forced casualness of someone bursting with a secret. I heard Lydia throwing up in the morning, just like Alicia's mom did before her baby brother came, and she keeps falling asleep on the couch after dinner, so I figured it out. Lydia and Finn exchanged stunned glances. I was going to tell you tonight, Lydia admitted, reaching for Finn's hand. I confirmed it with the doctor yesterday. Finn's face transformed with joy as he pulled both his girls into a tight embrace. This is the best anniversary gift ever, he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. That night, after Mia had gone to bed, they sat together on the porch swing, Finn's arm around Lydia's shoulders as they gently rocked back and forth. Did you ever imagine, back on that subway platform, that we'd end up here? Lydia asked, her head resting against his chest. Not in my wildest dreams, Finn admitted. A guy like me ending up with a woman like you, it seemed impossible. Not impossible, Lydia corrected him, just unlikely. Until you stepped up when no one else would. Best decision I ever made, Finn murmured, pressing a kiss to her temple. Mine too, Lydia agreed, placing his hand over her still flat stomach. Just think in a few months we'll be a family of 4. As the spring breeze carried the scent of their flowering garden around them, Lydia reflected on the journey that had brought them together. From that chance encounter on a subway platform to this moment of perfect contentment, their story had been one of bridges built between different worlds, of seeing past circumstances to the heart beneath. In the end, it wasn't about being a billionaire or a mechanic. It was about finding someone who recognized your true value and standing up for what mattered, even when the odds seemed stacked against you. I love you, Finn Hartley, Lydia whispered. And I love you, Lydia Hartley Edwards, he replied, his voice full of the certainty that comes from knowing you've found exactly where you belong.